Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it. Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.
Good morning, family. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. It is Thursday, and again, the week is going by. We've continuously having the time fly, but we want to let you know to check in with us right now. We're live. Drop in the comments where you're tuning in from. Also, let us know your perspective, your thoughts, your questions. Put them in the comments because you know we're a global show and we want to hear what you have to say. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if we got topics that you guys want us to discuss. If you got questions you guys want us to answer. That's what we're here for, providing value all the time. And for those who can't tune in with us live, there's always hashtag replay. Go to hashtag replay. You also tell us where you're tuning in from. Drop your questions, your perspective, and your particular thoughts in the comments so we can go back, because we do go back, check it out, and we do engage with you. We also want to thank our sponsors today as well. But before we thank them, we can't do it. I can't do it. This show can't go on without my hostess with the mostest. Come on, Charlene. Let us know where you are, What's up?
What's going on, folks? I'm trying to get him to talk about the sponsors.
Yeah, the sponsors. I got to do the what's it? Because we got sponsors. We got sponsors that are sponsoring us. But to talk about the sponsors today, who is our sponsor today? Oh, it's Thursday. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm ready for a long weekend.
Well, of course, Martin Pratt. We always
Yes.
support and recognize Martin Pratt, the Black Toolbox. Get that copy of your book today. Autograph copies are out. And of course, you hit him up at theblacktoolbox.com and grab your copy. And we have our other amazing sponsors, Russ and Scott. Their live mastermind. Head on over to that site and make sure that you are connecting with them, joining in with them. Go on over to russhedge.com/business dash mastermind and become a part of the mastermind group. That's a group where you're not just listening to someone speak to you or talk at you. You're actually having a conversation with everybody, and can't wait to see you in there, because Carl and I, we are part of that mastermind, and we have some nice conversations. We get some feedback and learn what others are doing and get some ideas from that. And Carl, let the folks know about your C-suite leadership, sir.
Yes. Are you ready to be transformed? Right. It's a 4 week intensive that allows you to work through the feelings that you're holding back from being real, authentic you. This is for the leadership. Vulnerability and leadership is the key component of this transformation program, and it allows you to get in tune with your authentic self so you can become the leaders others want to follow. And we break that down with those 4 steps. We do a step a week, which is real intensive. We do an assessment of 360. We find out some things about you that you probably didn't know about yourself, so you can be a more effective, efficient leader, and others want to follow you. So go to carlshawnwatkins.com/VTP, the website. Register today because I know you're ready to be transformed.
Yes, and for me, you guys know the hustle and the grind is real, but always you don't want to sit there and have a struggle site being your support engine, because that's just not going to work. People will come and they will leave. They won't engage. They won't even try to do business with you because your site is not clear. Your site is not even welcoming. So I will help you through a struggle site rescue. Hit me up at BrooklynCustomDesigns.com, BKLYN customdesigns.com /SOS. Or you can even text message me at 74121 and send a message of Brand Misfit VIP. And you send that one word message, and you will get a link directly to signing up to that struggle site rescue. And you can start working with me because that's what we are here for. That's why we bring on so many of our amazing guests. We want you to know how to reach out, you hear us all the time. How do you want to work with us? Those are some of the quick ways to get started, right? That's not the only things that we do, but that's the way to get started and really dig into what we are helping you out with, because that's what we like to do. Make sure that you are succeeding and you're getting to the next level. There's always places to get started, but now we're here to help you get to the next level. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's coming to the show. Love you all for supporting us continuously and always. So thank y'all. Um, Today's show, Carl, it's a little bit about both of what we do. So when people say, well, what do you do? Now you're going to get to hear us talk about it and experience what we do. So visible vulnerability, that's a big step when it comes to understanding not only what you want people to know about you, but being comfortable that you're not perfect, that you're not showing up perfect, but you're showing up and people are getting to know you. They're not seeing this polished journey, because some people like to skip the hurdles that they've been through, but we like to talk about that. We like to expose, so to say, those vulnerable parts to our journey, so you can see, like, look, not everything's going to be perfect, and even when things feel like they're falling apart, you're probably right on track. What do you think about, Carl, when you hear things like that with a visible vulnerability?
Well, it's just what it is. I am not really a proponent of putting two dictionary words together to come along with a concept. I've always had issues with that because most of the time, people that put those two words together, most of those words are opposites in meaning, and they try to conjoin them to mean something else. But in this essence, your visible vulnerability really works hand in hand. The two words that really go with each other like a glove and a hand, and it fits perfectly. To be visible, you have to be vulnerable, right? Because you have to be seen. And in the essence of being seen, you really have to be confident in how you are looked upon. And then I think about that as being visible. A lot of us think about visible as saying, okay, we have a business, we have a product, we have a service. Let's get people to see that. But in the essence of them seeing that, they have to see you doing that, talking about that, showing that, or engaging in that. That's what builds the credibility along with that. But you have to be empowered in your own right and authentic to who you are and those you want to serve. So that visible and that vulnerability work hands in hand. They can see that I'm vulnerable enough to show them a part of me that maybe no one else gets to see, a part of me that's engaging enough for them to trust me, to really bode well with me, to say, okay, he looks like he is what he say he is. And that confidence just perks about, and you'll see it in the bottom line. You see it in sales if you're a company. You'll see it if you're a leader. You'll see it in performance for those that you're leading. There's so many ways that being visible, vulnerable can show others to say, okay, I've got a platform here. I got a place here. I got a safe spot here that I can do the same. And in that, it's the ultimate for all parties involved, growth. That's really what we're all trying to do.
Yes, yes, I love that. And part of that is knowing what are some action items you can take, because we're always trying to find ways for you to not just hear what we're saying, but put it in action, get some ideas going. Because that's sometimes a way that we freeze up. We don't know where to start. We don't know what to do. So one thing with visible vulnerability is be open through your story.
Yes.
It's one thing when people can give you scripts, but if you're not connected to what they're trying to make you do through these scripts, it's not going to flow right. It's not going to come across right. You're not going to be genuine when you're trying to be vulnerable, because you don't know what's going on. Some people will tell you a story of hard times that they've been through. Other people, they haven't been through those type of hard times, so they can't create the same visuals. They can't create that same connection, and they weren't meant to. So your journey is now to get into your own story. What's your passion? Why do you do things that you do? And then get those people who can relate to that connected to you. That's how you start to become open through your story. Don't try to mimic someone else's story. It won't work.
Yeah, and being open through your story is just that, owning your story. I think that is the biggest disconnect with us actually being vulnerable. We're not proud of our story, so we don't own it. And the things that we do own, we're proud of, which really doesn't make us up. It's really not who we are. It really isn't the thing that has built the character or the authenticity of who we are as people. Your downfalls, your failures, your disconnects, those are the things that have really built the character within you. It's not so much the wins. The wins, everyone jumps on winners. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. But in essence, a winner, whether it's be you or one that you're deeming yourself like, there has been a struggle along the way. And that journey is what we dismiss a lot of times. And in disowning that journey, no one else gets fulfilled, because we can all go and see social media has been a grand place for that, where we can see a polished product, right? We can see things of people on yachts and driving Ferraris or whatever, we can see those plastered Hollywood setups. But the journey of which you've grown, a lot of people want to see that part. And we alienate people when we don't own our own story, when we don't own the struggles, when we don't own the growth, we don't own the resiliency that it took us to get. Not only maybe we don't have a great storyline as of yet, but we've come to a place that we've overcame, and that overcoming is empowering. And when we're not owning our story or being open through our story, a lot of times people are missing the mark. And you always, and I always say it as well, as I love to say this, you have something that someone needs, and you don't know who that someone is until you open your mouth and share your story.
Come on now. um like when you have to put in, you want to share that part of you, do it in a way that's comfortable for you. Some people are like, oh,
Right.
videotape and record your journey. Not everybody's on that mindset, because sometimes when you're in that grind, when you know you got things that you need to do, that's exactly what you're focusing on. You're focusing on the actions. And should you capture moments? Of course. But every single damn moment? Now, come on now.
Yeah, and it's
Sometimes
to be
you gotta
choreographed.
really figure out. Yeah, is it
Yeah, you
are you
gotta
trying
do.
to choreograph?
Yeah,
Trying to live and then be able to speak on story, speak on the experience.
yeah, and then it's also what I found it to be, especially with writing content and being in the realm of leadership. Being open through your story is educational for those you're leading. I know a lot of times we look upon it as we don't want those that we're leading to see that we have failed, but alert, sidebar, whatever you want to call it, people know you failed. So the objectivity is to be to be truthful in that, to engage in that. And when I say engage, it's not a wallow, it's not a pity party, it's a development and a growth pattern. To say, yo, I did fail at this, because you don't think Apple. I was talking to Charlene the other day, and I used the analogy of Apple. Apple does not come out with a new product that is not followed up with an update constantly.
Hmm.
Their stuff is not put out and it's perfect. Every single Apple phone that you wait in line for, MacBook, computer, whatever it is you buy. I bought the 13. I don't even think it was a month later. I had updated my settings in my general settings. You all know, you app users. I'm sorry if you're not. I'm not familiar with Android and how that works. I've never had one, but I'm sure you had it as well if you had an Android. That being the case, I'm saying even the solidness of companies and traditions and foundations, they let you know that there's a failure process in there. And through that, they take you through that journey. When they give you that, they say, oh, this is going to fix these bugs and these bugs, which we didn't equate for when we began
Yes.
this. Same thing with you and your story. Where you are now does not equate to where you was 4 years ago, not even that far along, where you were pre-pandemic. A lot of us can see where we were pre-pandemic and see the growth and what we've even come through in the past 2+ years. That's a journey.
Hmm.
Someone needs to hear that. Someone needs to see that. No, not all of the grimy glory details course not. You want to stay on a professional level with that. But there are things in there that people need to know because they're sitting in that and they're looking for a way to come out of that. And your story can be a divine instance for them to pull through on the other side. That's what I'm saying. So be open through your story.
Come on now. And when that, you also start to allow others to see and resonate with of the struggle, because that's what a lot of times we miss. We hear the glory stories, we hear the stories of, oh, I woke up one morning and bam, money just started flooding into my inbox.
Like,
Really?
what?
because
Still haven't got that
because they
inbound
don't
message.
because they don't always talk about the times where, no, they didn't know when the next client was coming. They didn't know how to get their missions across. They didn't know how to really connect with people. So if you are missing certain points, you tend to end up saying to yourself, well, damn, it's not working. Is it something that I'm doing wrong? What's going on? It's like, when people like to give you their special recipe, but they leave out that one ingredient.
Yeah, yeah. They don't want to tell you
They leave out
everything.
that one ingredient.
They don't want to tell
They
you
don't want to
everything.
tell you everything. And it's either they don't want to tell you everything because they feel like it's not sexy, or they want to package it into a program, or it's something else. It might be another catch, or something's going on. So you want to be mindful when you now are turning around and you seeing some form of success, because like they always tell you, celebrate even the little wins. So when you start seeing those little wins and you're talking about those little wins, we have a tendency to also say, oh, I just tinkered around and it just happened. I just figured it out. Not all the time. Sometimes you're like, you know what, it took me a while, but I did some research. I looked online. I went to these three people because they seemed like they knew what they were doing. That shows that you went to someone else. You kind of on someone else to help you out. So if you went and did the same thing for others through your story, that's a huge win, not just for you, but for them. So that kind of takes us into the next mode of, you want to not fear your flaws and imperfections, because we all have to learn from somewhere. We all have to learn some. So it's not that you just had this Midas touch, like a lot of folks want to tell you. You have to learn how to get there, how to make it look flawless. Because there's things I can do in my sleep, but that took me 10 years, 20 years to do. That didn't happen overnight. There's been many times where I've had flaw where websites went down 3 in the morning. I'm still up trying to get it back up because I didn't know what to do. And I had to learn. The same thing when my computer died on me. I had to learn, like, damn, make sure that I backed up everything. Make sure that I had this, make sure that I had that. And that was from years of external drives dying on me. That was me saying, trust clouds completely? Absolutely not. Because that's just another external drive somewhere else in someone else's hands, and they're giving me access. So I have to understand what's important to go to a cloud as a backup, but I still have multiple other devices as backups. So when I had to ramp up another computer, it didn't take me a week. It didn't take me a month to get another computer up and running. I was able to do that in a matter of a couple of hours. So you really have to understand, like, don't be afraid to share that part. Don't be afraid to say, you know what, I did mess up. I didn't know anything about backups. I didn't know anything about how to code properly. I had to learn. It happened overnight. It didn't happen in one day. That joint took hours. That joint took weeks, months. and many times of me calling my mentor, calling on my guide, calling other people to help with that. That took a lot. And you have to be honest and open, ready to share that.
Yeah, you have to be. And then I dropped in the chat a post I wrote about flaws. Like we're all a beautiful mess, in the essence of it, and we have to be seen as such. And the power that we have, or the power that we neglect to use, is the power of the strength in our flaws and imperfections. There are a myriad of reasons of why you have those flaws, right? And flaws are not
Mhm.
cancers. Flaws are not destructions. Flaws are not here to break you. Flaws are here to see that someone else can see that the imperfection to you. I remember grandmaism from a long time, and I know everybody's grandmother, parent, or something has told them that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter to what you visualize individually what beauty is. Someone always sees beauty in something, and our beauty don't match. A lot of people that they say they have the models that shape this or size this or whatever. A lot of men, if you would really ask them truthfully and honestly, they'll tell you that the size threes, the fours, the twos, whatever the sizes are, they're not always that fascinated by that kind of woman. And it has nothing to do with that woman. It's just that their eyes see beauty the way that they see beauty. And that's what it is. And another one she'll send me says somebody for everybody. So regardless of how ugly you may visualize a person to be, someone else sees the beauty in that person. So it's the same within yourself and your flaws. Those imperfections that you visualize as being, I'm not perfect, which you won't ever be, and those flaws, some you're going to continue to have. You're going to continue to keep. Some you may round out the rough edges. Some you may be able to do some things about, but there's always going to be some flaws with you because you're not going to be perfect. So, in essence of that, embrace those flaws, use them to your advantage, use them to be embracing who you truly are, use them for your purpose because that's what they're there for. So, when we stand on those and believe in those and who we are, we can see the character and we can hold our head up high. We can put forth our best effort and we can continue to grow and move because that's really what it's all about. Even though you have perfections, that's it. They are just that
Yeah.
imperfections.
Exactly, exactly. And we want to also learn from others because sometimes we see that too. When others have issues going on, right? They skim over that. Things aren't working right. They got their game plan. They change on how on how they came to the new layout that they're doing. You see them doing one job 1 minute, the next thing you know, they doing a whole different job program or whatever that is. And you're wondering, like, didn't you have a different business? Like, what's going on? They want to skim over things, right? And that kind of messes up with things like, are they not being vulnerable to say, like, something just didn't work out? Why are they dancing around this tune? Or why is it such a touchy subject when it comes to that? You have to be careful with that. You don't want to be in a position where, yes, you messed up and you're every time you talking about things you messed up on, but you want to speak on how you learning from it and how you're advancing. That's I think we're missing that part of the journey. We messed up here, but we've advanced. If we changed business, it's because now we're taking it to the next level. Now we've done this part, we've done the trainings, we've done the startups, but for us, we're elevating with our you can't, just like I say with when you're starting a website, you can't always be in starter position, right? Maybe you like training starters, so that's why you stay there. But even as a starter, you want to keep growing and learning new things. You don't want to keep telling them about point A when point A has all these other new avenues to hit. When are they going to get out of that starter box? You should be training people to grow outside startership. You should be training and showing people and showing how you came out of starter mode. So you
Yeah,
want to be careful when you're not being afraid of your flaws and your imperfections. You want to show how you're growing and how you're learning. Because yes, we're messing up, but these mess ups should be teaching us how to, right?
it should be, and I'm checking out some of the comments because I'm looking at, and I want to go to where. Let me see if I can find. I just had it, and I can go to the comment of what I got from Cynthia McCray. I think she's coming up as LinkedIn user in the
Yes.
comments, and she was saying about the essence of videotaping. She's seen influencers and different ones videotaping themselves through everything, And what I put in the answer to that is that you have to do what's comfortable for you. Bear in mind to
Mm-hmm.
just circle back to even all of this that we're given as far as value and points and calls to action. You have to be comfortable in that. But I tell you as well, as a coach, as a pusher that wants to see the best in you, because I know it's there. I'm going to say do a little bit outside of that comfort zone because you always want to push the envelope with what you are capable with doing. We don't understand what we are truly capable of. We don't understand what we are truly capable of in the essence of doing or being who we are, for the simple fact is we don't find ourselves pushing ourselves. And in the essence of pushing yourselves, you got to be able to move past what you're comfortable with doing. Now, in the essence of that, there's always points and places where you can pick and choose of those comfortable spots that you're in. Some of you know that you've been in spots that are comfortable to do because of the fact you're so easily able to do them. But when it's something that you're not easily able to do, there's an opportunity for growth. Just as a lot of us had to do when we came upon the pandemic. A lot of us wasn't savvy with tech or doing videos or doing Zooms or definitely
Mm-hmm.
not doing lives or live streaming. But we pushed ourselves to avenues and places where there was learning there. And with learning comes growth. So when it's an uncomfortable area, it's the same thing as in growing naturally. Whether you're doing plants. Once you go out there and toil the soil, you can't just throw seeds out there and they're gonna grow. You have to do the work. You have to toil the dirt, turn it over, flip it over. You got to get the soil, the growth, the rich soil at the bottom, put the seed in there, water it. There's a process that has to be. And that process does not fall short with just natural. It falls the same within you. But when you go back and you look upon that journey, that's also an extension to your growth because you can see where you've come from to give you confidence to keep going. Because a lot of times we let stuff that we're not doing stop us from continuing on for the simple fact we don't like the judgments. We don't like what's being said. We can't appreciate the criticism. Yes, it's some of it warranted, maybe not all the time, but I do everything like all things. I chew up the meat, spit out the bones. Most of the times when someone's telling you something about you, there is something in there that you can use. There's something that they're saying that you can use for your betterment. Not all of it is about putting shade on you. Not all of it is about throwing you under the bus. Some it is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it is critiquing to see if you
Yes.
can be able to take it or get better.
And I'm brought that up as it's hard to take critique. Let's just put it plain. You could put honey on it, it don't matter. It's just hard. But I think that's a growing and a learning point for us. If you are able to if you are able to take that critique and learn from it and take it to a point where you can say, okay, maybe there's something I can do different. What can I do to better what I'm doing, how I'm moving in these streets? Especially when you're being vulnerable, that's part of you telling your story and visibly changing how you're showing up, how you're coming through for others as well. So if you're able to do that, take that critique in and say, okay, maybe some things I can tweak. Because we all have a comfort zone. We all have a comfort level of what we like to do. But is that working? Because if it's working, then what's the point of doing that? Then you another level. If you can't yourself get to that.
Yeah, it's no point in that being able to do that if you're not pushing yourself to that level. It takes push. Oftentimes we don't do the pushing because we stop when it's uncomfortable. The pushing, but the success comes after the uncomfortable. So a lot of times you hear it, and most of the times we'll see it on a larger scale, such as with athletes. We look at them and we see how they push. We see the Kobe Bryants, we see the Michael Jordans, we see the success, we see the Patrick Mahomes, and we see all of these ones that push themselves to level. Venus Williams, Serena. We see these ones that push. Even looking at their stories, a lot of times we just thought, well, maybe you didn't think such because blindly knowing we're a little more smarter than that. But we had no idea before the story came out with the Williams girls, the kind of things that they went through. the grit and the training and all of those kind of things that dad pushed them through to be successful as they are. Even that older model of that, the Jacksons, how their dad was. And a lot of people said they were crazy in those times to have that. They didn't have childhoods. Well, we know some of all of the other issues we're not talking about. We're just cycling in on the pushing them and pushing them out of their comfort zones, how they rehearse, how they practice, how they the new edition. I mean, we can go on and all of these tremendous examples that we have of people with their story being pushed out to be of greatness. And for you to be great, there's going to have to take that push. So at some points in place, you got to realize, okay, where am I going to take this opportunity to grow past I've grown? And I'll continuously say it to bring it back, Charlene, I'll throw it back to you. Uh, the pandemic has been the greatest reset that we all have needed. We all have. And whether we're taking advantage of it or whether we're using it to our best advantage is yet to be seen. But it's an opportunity for us to wipe the slate clean of a lot of patterns and a lot of dysfunction that we were living in before the pandemic. And now you have an opportunity to be truthful and authentic to your own self, build that foundation for which you want to love to live, and be the individual, the person, the human that was designed for you to be. And what does that encompass? You living a life of love, joy, happiness, and you doing some of the things that go back a few years, go back right before the pandemic, and just find some of those spots and places and days where you were like, oh man, I wish I could do this. Or you was working and watching the clock, or you was waiting for 5 o'clock to clock out. Go back to those times and look and say, okay, where am I at now? What has happened over these past 2.5 years that has really given me my trajectory, has really pushed me forward?
Mhm.
Find what that is. Be vulnerable about it. Rob say he's okay with being vulnerable. It's a lot
Yes,
easier to be open and honest than it is to be guarded. And it's less work. It's actually less work.
yes, and I left that up because it's true.
Yes, it's
Because
less work.
it's true, and I think the guarded and the defensive part comes from the fact that most hurt the other person that we're trying to be honest with. And us being honest is us being vulnerable enough to be honest. Because if something isn't working, we have to say that. And we try to say it. But if you're not being receptive, like if we're not being receptive to receive, how can the other person be receptive to receive? So it's almost like a reflection kind of thing. We got to be careful when it comes to that. You got to be mindful of, yes, we're not trying to hurt others, but we also have to make it plain and make it clear if we are here to our communities, we have to be honest with our communities, and that's a part of it, showing that imperfection. And I like, Carl, how you were mentioning the sisters. We don't see a lot of that back end work. We just see when they get to the foreground, when they get to the in front of the camera. We listen to the stories that are given to us on camera, and we tend to ignore, well, damn, what did you have to do in the background? Right. So from the sports figures to the entertainers, like Beyonce, Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, they put in work. When you really look at their lives, when they stop long enough to capture in their own words, I'm not even talking about when other people telling you, when they're able to stop long enough to capture in their own words their journey, because look how long it took for a lot of them. Janet just did a biography.
Yes.
She just did that. This one been in the game for a minute, and she just did something where she can speak and tell her story. And that was a journey that she took. And did she have family photos and videos? Yeah. But you didn't, then every day she videotaped herself and she on her journey. Even now, see that every single day she has a video on herself. No. Yes, I'm speaking on someone who's in level, but you also gotta be realistic. What's the work that you're in on the back end? You may not capture everything.
Yeah. And that and putting that work in on the back end is actually the key to the engine. A lot of people see that finished vehicle, right? I'm a lover of Range Rover. Like that is, I don't necessarily say a dream car. I just love the vehicle. I was in Germany in the military, and I got to drive it, and I've just been in love with it since the early '80s. Uh, it is a passion vehicle of mine, and I love what it does, right? But I've also studied how the parts are put together and those kind of things. Yes, we see the gloss of them, the finished paint job, the glistening wax on them, how they look when they're rolling down. You know how sleek and how wonderful and how beautiful they look. But we're not in the factory. We're not in like such places as GM Motors where you got them screws being put on by the assembly line, or you seeing this product as just a shell in the beginning. This is the essence of you as well. And I love using those analogies because sometimes we need to visually see with our own eyes. If it's not our mental eye, we need to visually see with our own eyes the trajectory of a journey. And therein lies where we build confidence of who we are because we've seen where we've come from. You can go as far as your own personal life, just go as far as a few years ago. Go as far if you want to where you was as a child, some of the dreams and aspirations that you had set in your mind, some of those days when you were at school and you had those what do you want to be days? What did you come to school dressed up as? Are you still in alignment with those dreams and aspirations that you had long time ago, or were they sidetracked by the essence of life? Maybe you had got married, maybe you had families, maybe you had children, maybe you had to take this job instead of going after that job. When you look upon all of those things, they're the makeup of you. They're the things that have built you. They're the character of who you are. And there's power in that because someone else is following behind that. No, I don't say that there's someone's copying your life, but someone is living parallel to what you've lived. So in the essence of that, if there's some things that you have went through, they can use a little help in understanding how that process went. They may not use it the same way that you have, but they can benefit from the total thing that's in common, the overcoming. And this is where we all get where we have the value to give to one another. This is what makes vulnerability so empowered
Yes,
and
yes,
nowhere near weakness. When you show that vulnerability, you're really
yes.
giving the power to someone else to say, yo, I have something that you need.
Yep. And I love how you were giving some feedback to Cynthia. Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
if you're showing people how to wear their prosthetic garments, right? You're already in a vulnerable state. People who are self-conscious about their prosthetics. They're self-conscious about the way they appear. So I think speaking to that uncomfortableness already allows you to show them different ways that they're not hiding, but they're just being comfortable with who they are and what they're wearing. So the garments just adds a layer of comfort for them. So if you can approach it from that as well, that's a great way for you to help people and show your own side of being vulnerable and open to listen to their stories. And you can even have them tape themselves a minute less or even 5-minute videos or something like that to give their perspective of how it feels when they wear your garment. What's the added benefits that they're getting? What's the treat that they feel? So that's something else that you can definitely and take an approach to.
Yeah.
And I think we're talking about the flaws and imperfections. You can see how you're learning and you're sharing with others how to elevate who you are, and that's part of where the garments come in for the prosthetics. Learn with them and then also share with them how they can elevate and become the best person that they want to be, or become that comfortable in the visible world that they want to be. You were saying, Carl? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
N- No, no, no. I was just listening, and I was just I was saying that you made great. Even though I gave that to Cynthia, those are some of the ideas that you added on. It's definitely that you're already in a environment that vulnerability rules. All right, it's ruling visibly because you're in an environment where people have lost limbs and they're at disadvantages, so to speak, with their abilities to be able to do things. But you have a solution for them, and in the essence of that, you had a great opportunity, like I said, with the videos, even showing it or sharing with them the videos of that and how they can put it together the right or the wrong way, because I'm sure they're in a vulnerable state of this being one of the first times that they've ever been in this kind of state where they've had to lean and depend on outward external help. And this is a great opportunity for you to be vulnerable as well, being able to see from their view how their life has been changed now that they have to use these apparatus. So it's a lot of growing that goes along with just your particular situation, Cynthia, that you can avail yourself to the growth and the journey of them. And the plus is with you working with them and them growing, you grow and you guys can share a journey. It's nothing more than being able to share what you've overcome with someone who's seeking to be where you are. It's nothing more than that. I call that the greatest mentorship you can ever have. If you can share your journey with someone, they can realize it and they can overcome through your journey. That's just an amazing feeling. So I'm glad that we're adding value to what you got going on. And I see Rob said that he wants to do less work because he's lazy. Rob, I second that emotion. I second that. I had to jump on you, Rob. I
Well,
had to jump on.
I don't want to do less work because I'm lazy. I want to do less work because I got other things I want to do. I want to explore. I want to go. So that's where I come in on that. But yeah, I think what we could also take from this is as we're elevating, we want to show that process. That's what a lot of
Mhm.
people tell you to do, but they miss a lot of those pivotal moments of because Cynthia says she has a lot of these videos, but she wanted to
Yes.
stitch them. You can still do that, but while you do that, take clips of that, take pieces of that and share that journey because that's a part of you coming to a polished standpoint that becomes part of your journey to looking polished. We like everybody doesn't just come out polished. That's part of this experience and show like yeah how we were before. And it's a good thing for you too. It's a good way for you to look back because Carl and I, if it wasn't for him pushing my behind out to do lives, I got to start seeing my earlier videos. I was not in the same where we have all these graphics and lighting and everything, but we just decided to just try get out there, let's see what this will be, and it was a game buster for us. So that was just another example of not waiting till everything was perfect, but learning along the way and then starting to share how you elevated. How did you get from point C,
Mhm.
F, right? You don't want to just show up at F and say, "Yeah, it was a good journey," and then you don't tell anybody because others who are trying to start and they do admire that, they want to know too. They want to learn, but they don't want to learn just because they want to start. They want to learn because now we're at the next level. That's how you see coaches and consultants they clients transition, and that's a good thing. It should never be looked at as a negative. If you're a coach who works with startup companies and now your clients are leaving you and they're going to another coach or consultant, that next move that they're making should step up. They should not be going to another startup coach. That's when you can say something's off. Right? They should be always looking to elevate themselves, and you should want that for them. You should be pushing them to elevate, not pushing them to stay basic. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and it's a two lane highway in the essence of that learning and sharing how to elevate who you are. In the essence of that, you're learning and sharing how to elevate who they are. uh, and that's the both of you guys on the highway and pushing that through and learning from each other. That's it, and that's what I often say a lot of times in my programs. If you aren't looking for the next level in what I'm offering, I need to tweak what I'm offering. And it's not so much as I want you to stay in this particular thing with me. I've talked to a lot of coaches and say, man, I love to have a client for years. I do too. Don't get me wrong. I love to have a client for years, but I love to offer something that the client is growing through for years. I don't want you in my coaching program for it's a 6 months or 8 months, however long that it is, and at the end of that, you just want to sign up for them 8 months again. Something's clicking in me that's saying it's not nothing. It's what's wrong. They going through the same thing again. It has to be something where at the end of that 8 weeks, they should have shown me something that I need to be ahead of them on to improve the next level. So that's where the learning and sharing of elevating comes in at, because every client that I take on, they're teaching me how to elevate my own self through what they're taking from what I've done previously. So therein lies there's a journey that you must pay attention to. I know a lot of it's analytical. I don't do the analytical numbers so good as so many others, but I do the perception of interaction. And I can get a lot of what is understood based upon what I've given you, based upon what you've grabbed, based upon the movement you make and what you've learned. Those kind of things are my analytics. So I move from that area and I say, okay, this is what they grab. This is where I go. I'm learning and sharing while they're learning and sharing, because what you're giving them, they're learning, and the output that they're giving you and the feedback that they're sharing with you should be elevating you to your next level. And this is how we really miss the mark on sharing with each other. This is how we miss the mark on diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we have these people that are different, that knows how to do things differently than us, and we don't value that because they're different than us. We lose it on that mark. So we're all in this to learn and share and elevate each other. And that doesn't mean the ones that sit around and hold it. I got 10 ways to do that. I'm only going to show you seven, because I got to hoard these other three, because you never know. You never know, right? If I got 10 ways to do it, I'm going to show you 11, because through showing you that, I'm going to create a way that we can do it together. It doesn't hurt me none. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't change who I am. It doesn't take nothing from up here. Because I tell the people all the time, I was at one point in time in 2 years, I was on 9 temp assignments in a 2 year period. And I had people looking at me like, oh my God, man, you ain't none of them jobs turn permanent. I said, nope, but I'm learning everything in all 9 positions. So whether they turn permanent or not, I got skills that they can never take away. So, you have to look at it that way, learning and sharing.
And I like that you said that. If you bouncing from place to place, you bouncing from spot to spot, that's you need to take with you though. And hopefully you leaving something positive behind. But take something with you that's gonna allow you. I'm just saying. But you want to take
Hmm.
something with you that allows you that the next place you land, you can bring value to them as well. Don't just be a taker. Don't just be one of those I don't know, leeches or whatever that just come to all these different spots, soak everything up and then you out. You leave nothing behind. You didn't elevate anybody after you. You didn't bring your hands with positivity. So you want to be mindful of that. And definitely because we talk so much about businesses and from the small business standpoint, also remember all of these things that we talked about today can be used in the corporate space. Think that it can't be. We try to be as possible when it comes to that. Talking about visible vulnerability, it's also to help you elevate in your corporate life. That's where you like to be. You thrive in corporate life. You're not trying to do DIY nothing. You want to be under corporate umbrella. That's fine, but you want in that corporate environment. You want to be open your journey of how did you get to this place in corporate? Why did you go after this position? Why does this matter to you when you see you on a team or you have subordinates under you, your peers are with you? How are you bringing value? Does your story allow them to get to know who you are and connect with you, and that way no matter what it is that you can bring to the table, they're like, okay, I see that, I see how you get in there, I can support that. And the same thing with you, not fearing your flaws at work, your imperfections in the corporate space, because everybody start dodging and lying, pointing fingers. That's when we start to have that communication breakdown in the workspace. And same thing with learning and sharing how to elevate to the next level. I don't know anybody who likes to go, or anybody who is really thriving for something, who wants to go and be in one for 40 years. Why? Are you not learning anything new there? Because if you came in typing two letters when you first started, and then now you retire and type in them same two letters and you did nothing on top of that, then what was the point of that experience? What did you get anything from that experience in terms of learning, in terms of you building and growing as an individual? Forget just on a corporate side, but as an individual, how did you really improve your life other than having a steady paycheck and maybe a pension, hopefully, if you did it for 30?
Yeah, and something beside a gold plated pen. It ain't even gold. You know, they give you the ink pen after
They
25
still give
years. I
those
don't even know
out.
if they do. I was about to, I was about to reverse with that. I don't even know if they still give those out. Uh, in the essence of what it is you're accomplishing, but do that, and through all the value that we've given and shared, in the essence of that, we hope that this has moved the needle for you, if not so much as in pushing you up the journey. It's moved the needle in the thought process, because it all begins with the mind. The mindset have to change, in essence of who we want to be. And though a lot of that is easily said with ones that say it because they're in the throes of actually doing it, it all starts with one step. The one step that you take to move towards that is the empowerment that's going to continue to facilitate that movement. So if you're not empowered enough to take that one step, take it. You gotta crawl before you can walk, right? You gotta walk before you can run. I use that analogy with everything I've learned. I use that analogy with learning how to maintenance my website. I use that analogy how to use Canva to make posts. I use that analogy how to use Instagram and use these different ones. When they first came out, I was not a genius. 99.9% of the ones that use them now are not geniuses. And they're not, if you take a query, so to speak, probably not using them correctly for which the platform thought they should have been used, right? So if you want to go into
Right.
the essence of that, we all have those areas of flaws and imperfections. And what we have to do as the individuals is not change for others, is it change for ourselves. And if things that we don't like that are with ourselves, we have the power to do that for ourselves. But only change those things to make yourself comfortable with who you are. Don't change those things to match what someone said you should be. And this is one of the big things about being visible, vulnerable, is in essence of you can give a person an opportunity to have a space to say, yo, maybe I'm not that bad. Maybe I'm not that. I wrote a post, and I normally post it once a month. It's a reminder of me that someone said to me when I first started posting. They said, because when I look at you, no, because of you, I don't want to give up. And they said, because of what I see you doing and because of how you are, I don't want to give up. So that's a power and impactful statement right there. That lets you know that someone is seeing something in your life that is pushing and propelling them to be better in theirs. And that's legacy. I ain't talking about names on the building. I ain't talking about dollars in your account. I'm talking about somebody moving forward in their life based upon what they see you doing in yours. That's right, Shadow. My man is making an
I
appearance.
know. Yes, there you go. There you
What's up,
go.
Shadow? What's up?
Lord. But yes, I would definitely say with that, you wanna leave something positive. And a lot of times it's really about what are you doing to allow people to connect with you. It doesn't always have to be some major thing. Like, some people are like, well, I don't have all this money to be a philanthropist and all that. You don't have to always do that. It's the small things that allow people to say, oh, okay, that I can do that. I can get with you. So that's what I would say. Make sure that what you're doing in this world, you are giving and you're learning from it. Don't go into these different scenarios and you're coming away without learning anything or thinking that you know everything. That can be the worst thing you could ever do. Is act like you know everything. I'm in a mastermind, but I mean, I know some, but hearing other people's perspectives on it, that's what really makes it a point and a reason and a purpose to be in the mastermind, is to hear other people's perspective. Because maybe, yes, I do it a certain way, but there was a little thing, right? Maybe it wasn't a big major thing. It was something small, right? Just like Carl. Carl, when I tell you working with Carl, taking feedback, he's giving feedback, and now you can't tell the man nothing. You can't tell him nothing about about graphics. You can't tell him nothing about graphics in his website.
Trying to choke the brother. Oh man.
But I love it because he goes and he runs with it, and enthusiasm, all that he's learned, he's still willing to share his experiences, and I can still learn. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't think about that. And that's a great thing when, as you're moving through this journey, your visible vulnerability journey, take in, you may have a reason of or a vision for how something should move, how something should work, your coaching program, your consulting services. Like Carl says, some of these platforms, the way they started it out, the way they created it, the purpose and how they thought people would use it, people aren't using it. You know what they do? They take in that feedback, and then they start changing things based on how others are using it now. They don't sit there and say, nah, y'all using it wrong. You need to do that. No, they say, okay, that's how you using it. Okay, let's make some changes so we can make it, because what is going through right now is to help others. And if we can do something to help them better work with us and help us better impact their lives, then why wouldn't we make those changes? Why wouldn't we implement that? Why are we fighting against the grain? Right?
Absolutely. And that's the key to it. That's the key to the growth. That's the key to why you think they came out with beta. And like I said before with Apple, not just so much. I mean, there's one I use them as an analogy because they're so very well known, and they're so very well established, and we repeatedly see them changing the benchmark of which they do things. That's the ideal way that you want to be as a business owner, as a leader. It doesn't even have to go that far as to being a solopreneur, entrepreneur, as a leader. And the leader doesn't have to be the title that you carry, just that in your field or industry, that at your very department, your team, you being that co-worker. I mean, it goes down to the minuteness of it. You can have impact. How many people that you work with, you say, oh my God, when they're getting ready to retire, or they're on vacation, or they're not there, you can see how the job goes. I've been working with a lot of people. I say, oh my God, they're on vacation this week. My head start hurting because they've so much being an impact. And a lot of times they don't be leaders. I'd be glad to see the leaders go. I'm one myself. I don't know if they'd be glad to see me go, but I'm glad to see the leaders go sometimes. When you going on vacation, let me mark, I'm circling my calendar. I'm good. I'm greening and highlighting those days that they're off. Like you don't want to be in that realm, but it's some people that I work with that's not leaders. They're not leading teams. They're not leading people or what have you. But when they're not at work, I'm starting to like, okay, all right, I'm a little nervous because like they hold it up. They hold up their end, and I don't hear a lot from them. They don't go around boasting and bragging. But when they're not there, you can tell in the office, especially if you work there. So you want to be that individual where somebody can see you and they see that visible vulnerability in you and say, oh, we can't do such and such without this one. If this one's not
Mm-hmm.
here, this is the power that you want to embrace, and this is the power that you want to wield. And it's not an ego thing. It's just a confidence that you're carrying in yourself and an aura of confidence in who you are with those imperfections, with those flaws. You're still a beautiful mess. And that's the essence of what we have to truly believe and not let someone else project on us what they see, which is 9 times out of 10 the mirror that they're looking at to their own self. So why they're projecting it on you. So they want you to stand in that realm. So we hope we gave you something today. Man, visible vulnerability. It
Yes.
can't get no more, it can't get no more cleaner than that. I appreciate all of y'all that have dropped jewels and dimes in here. We appreciate it.
Yes, and don't be the one that people say, if you on vacation, I'm on vacation.
Oh wow.
Make sure
Don't be
that
like this
make,
when the
make
cats
sure,
away the monster play, right?
exactly. Make sure you're the one that people say, wait a minute, you on a vacation? Let me make sure all my ducks in a row.
Yeah.
What is it that you do? Make sure make sure I'm up to speed on what you're doing, so things can move smooth back, not to a mess, to a
Yeah. Leave,
relaxed, smooth transition back into work.
and leave cheat sheet.
For joining us.
Yeah, leave cheat sheets. I want to say that because I did that a lot in work, and I guess with me being a writer, it really helped out. I left cheat sheets on assignments that I left from. Like when I left notes of what that job was in the drawer that I left, just in case someone else came and they would have a head start on really learning what the process was. What they don't feel slighted by doing those things or putting yourself. Those things get noticed. I had people call me back from assignments, and they was like, "Man, we wish we could have brought you on full time, man, because we really missed the work you put in. But we appreciate you left your notebook back. So the one that we got doing it now, or the one we didn't hire now, it's on someone else's plate. They got a cheat sheet to know how to do the things you were doing. Like those are the kind of things that you make impact with people on. So don't always have to be about yourself. No, they didn't hire me. A lot of those places didn't. They let me go and got another temp, or maybe they closed that position altogether. But I know I made impact while I was there because they told me later on, and they sent me emails and they followed up, and those are good feelings. Those are good feelings. So we love y'all.
Well, just in case if I'm breaking up, I'll say one thing to that. The cheat
Yes,
sheet also translates into help write a better standard of work,
yeah,
process
SLP.
flow that's
Yeah,
smooth and simple and complete.
yeah,
You are correct. That above all else helps so much when you are not around. That's such a great improvement. So thank y'all for coming through. Thank y'all for listening and joining in. And we'll catch y'all tomorrow as we talk about credible vulnerability. So see
that's
y'all
it.
later.
See y'all later. Have a great one.
Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.